doing my best to make you part of us.
Hey, welcome to Versus the Rest. So today we're going to watch a video of our favorite buddies, our fun-loving criminal Donald J. Trump with Tucker Carlson. I don't know if I'm a bit late on that. I saw that for the 23rd, so yeah, whatever. I guess it's still irrelevant today unless it is not, but we'll see.
It's debate night, but we're not in Milwaukee.
Yeah, I'm not... Wait, he wasn't at the debate?
Mr. President,
Not too sure about that. I didn't see it.
Why are you at the Fox News debate tonight in Milwaukee?
Well, you know, a lot of people have been asking me that, and many people said you shouldn't do them, but you see the polls have come out, and I'm leading by 50 and 60 points.
So why?
And, you know, some of them are at 1 and 0 and 2, and I'm saying
Vivek's
sit
pretty
there
high.
for an hour or 2 hours, whatever it's going to be, and get harassed by people that shouldn't even be running for president. Should I be doing that? And a network
Bastard.
that isn't particularly friendly to me, frankly. You know, they were backing Ron DeSanctimonious like crazy, and now they've given up on him. I mean, it's a lost cause. It reminded me very much of 2016. You know, in 2016, I went through the same stuff.
Really? No, with Fox
fight
News.
them all the way.
Oh, yeah, indeed, at the
Very
start.
friendly after I won, or just about when I was
it's
winning.
true.
But I just felt it would be more appropriate not to do the debate. I don't think it's right to do it.
Well, you're already
leading by 50,
leading,
60,
so you can't
and one
lose the
leading by
debate.
70 points, and I'm saying, why am I doing it? And I'm going to have 8 people, 10 people, whoever made the debate. I don't know how many it is, but I'm going to have all these people screaming at me, shouting questions at me, all of which I love.
You're going to ruin
answering.
everybody
I love
else's
doing,
time.
but it doesn't make sense to do them. So I've taken a pass, as you probably
that's all right.
noticed.
Well, I did. I'm grateful that you did. It's interesting, though, because you spent a lot of your career in television.
Yeah.
You were the top show in television on NBC. But you don't feel the need now running for president to do television, obviously. Do you think television is declining?
Well, according to a poll that I
definitely.
guess we just saw, it just came out.
Definitely
it's down
declining.
like 30, 35%, but I think they were referring to cable. I think cable's down because it's lost credibility. MSNBC, or as they say, MSDNC, is so bad.
MSDNC.
It's so wrong what they write and what they
DNC,
do
okay,
and what they say. It's, you know, it's fake news, as I said. I think I came up with that term. I hope I did, because it's a good one. It's not tough enough anymore. It's corrupt news. You know, really what you do is called corrupt news, but somehow that doesn't play as nicely. But it is corrupt news. So you have MSNBC and you have CNN.
That's better.
Who's absolutely doing no ratings at all. I mean, they're dead. But they're doing none because they don't have credibility. They really don't have credibility. Fox is way down, as you know. And the good old days are long ago. I will say this, it could come back, but they just don't have a lot of credibility, Tucker. You know that perhaps better than anybody.
Oh, he's gone, so what is left?
You were number one on television, and all of a sudden you're doing this interview, but we'll get bigger ratings using this crazy forum that you're using. Probably the debate or competition.
Makes sense.
When you say there are people on stage who shouldn't be running for president, who do you mean?
Well, I
That's
don't want to
kinda-
really use
that's not
names,
nice.
but it wouldn't matter too much. A guy like, I call him Ada Hutchinson. It's Asa, but I call him Ada.
What do you call him, Ada?
You know, I could tell you, but I don't want to get myself in a little trouble. But he's weak and pathetic, and he was, I never understood the guy, never knew him. He was the governor of Arkansas. Not a very popular guy. I don't know how but that state is such a great state. The people are so incredible in that state, and they love me and I love them. How does this guy get elected governor of Arkansas? But he's nasty always, and has been. A guy like Chris Christie, the guy left with a 8%, think of it, 8% approval rating in New Jersey. Now he's running for president. And he runs solely on the basis, let's get Trump. He's like a savage maniac.
That's all they got.
Lunatic. And that's all he talks about. His poll numbers are very, very low.
There's a lot of that in politics today. Like, people don't run for them, they just run to fight the other person. It's really just, it's not a positive attitude to have in politics.
What's he like? You know him well.
No, I've been friendly with him over the years, but I couldn't give him a job because I just never trusted him very much. I was just never one of his people that really trusted him. I never gave him the job, and that's one of the reasons he feels so hurt and so betrayed. And I understand that. I really do. I understand it, but I never gave him. You know, he wanted to be different things. He was looking at different elements of the administration, and we decided. I decided I didn't want to do it, and now I'm glad I did because you see. But we had some great people. I had great people. We'll have even better people if we do this because now I know Washington. Before I didn't know Washington. Guys like Bill Barr were terrible. I mean, they were, I would say, Bushies. I say that with respect to the Bush family, but they were Bushies, and it doesn't work out for us.
It was clear, this is kind of far afield, but it was just interesting. I read Barr's account of his time. He wrote a book about it,
right?
His autobiography, and in it he lies about Jeffrey Epstein's death. Clearly lies. Do you think Epstein killed himself sincerely?
I don't know. I will say that he was a fixture in Palm Beach.
Yeah.
I don't know what Barr said about it either. I have no idea what he said. What did he say? He killed himself, probably?
He said he killed himself and that they were going to do this investigation. They never did the investigation. It's never been public.
Well,
it's obvious.
And why are they doing that? And clearly Barr knew. But why would Bill Barr be covering up the death of Jeffrey Epstein?
Bill Barr didn't do an investigation on the election.
What do you think?
Okay. He said he did, and he pretended he did, but he didn't. McSwain, the U.S. attorney in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, said Barr just wouldn't let him do it. It was crazy. Barr became so petrified, so frightened of being impeached. They were going to impeach him. I don't know if you remember it.
Yeah.
It's not a big moment in history.
I didn't know.
But they said, we're going to impeach. They play a much rougher game, the left, the lunatics. And they were going to impeach Bill Barr, and he was petrified. Now, how do you not get impeached? Don't do any of this stuff. But he didn't do the job there. I don't know what he did with Epstein, but possibly he didn't.
Do you think it's possible that Epstein was killed?
Oh, sure, it's possible. I don't really believe. I think
he doesn't want to say it, but obviously
committed suicide. He had a life with beautiful homes and beautiful everything, and he all of a sudden he's incarcerated and not doing very well. I would say that he did, but there are those people. There are many people. I think you're one of them, right? But a lot of people think that he was killed. He knew a lot on a lot of people.
He was killed.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I think the closer you look, I'm not a conspiracy person at all.
No, you are kind of, but it's just normal to be these days.
The closer you look into it, I mean, the Attorney General of the United States, your Attorney General, clearly lied about the Epstein death.
Yeah, he was.
Why?
He was certainly. It wasn't well done. They had no cameras. They had no anything. Everybody was sleeping, and the case could be made. Look,
add it up, Donald.
I'm not going to get involved in it, but I can tell you a case could be made either way. But it certainly wasn't the most well-run place.
So the reason I'm asking you is I'm looking at the trajectory since 2015 when you got into politics, for real.
Yeah.
And then won. It started with protests against you, massive protests, organized protests by the left, and then it moved to impeachment.
They hated him so much.
Right.
And now indictment. I mean, the next stage is violence. Are you worried that they're going to try and kill you? Why wouldn't they try and kill you, honestly?
They're savage animals. They are people that are sick, really sick. You have great
some
people
kind of sickness,
in the Democrat Party. You have great
Trump
people
derangement syndrome.
Most of the people in our country are fantastic, and I'm representing everybody. I'm not just Republicans or conservatives. I represent everybody.
Yeah, okay, thanks. Yeah, that's nice.
But I've seen what they do. I've seen the lengths that they go to. When they make up the Russia, when that's exposed,
that was stupid.
They go down, and Barr should have gone after them, and other people should have gone after. And they did very late, because the Durham report came out. It was fairly good. It would have been a lot tougher.
News didn't care anymore.
Fairly good, but it explained how corrupt it was.
Yeah.
I'll tell you who did a great job was the inspector.
It's amazing how super mediatized was when Donald Trump was accused of winning because of the Russians. But when the Durham report came out and it said that was complete fabrication from the Hillary Clinton and her campaign, the media completely stayed silent, and there's still people today that believe. There's a lot of people actually here. I think they did a survey in Quebec. There was over 50% of people that believe that Donald Trump became president because of the Russians, because they hacked the elections. But of course, if ever they win, if ever their side wins, impossible that it was hacked, impossible that it was stolen, obviously. It's just when you lose.
Phenomenal report. You didn't have to
for every side.
You did it on Comey and on, I guess, McCabe and some others, and it was a vicious, it was basically a true report, how bad they are. But these people are sick people. These are people that I think they hate our country. You want to know that?
Yeah, there's people that hate.
When you see open borders, when you see these policies that they have,
True.
and so many other things, it's so sad to see.
It is.
You know, we have a country that's
why you
very
wanted to
fragile
become
right
president.
now. I've never seen. I will say, look, I ran in 16, which was 15, but I ran in 16, election in 16, and there was tremendous spirit. In 20, there was even more spirit. We got millions and millions more votes. You know, it wasn't even a contest. People said, well, what do you think of 20? I said, we did much better. We did.
You did.
You got to base it on the number of votes. We got many more votes in 20 than we did in 16.
More people hated Biden than Hillary, maybe.
Yeah, they had a rigged election. And with COVID, they used COVID to cheat in a lot of different things, and we have so much on it.
We've seen this in Canada.
So easy.
Yeah.
But we had judges that didn't want to look. We had people that didn't want to get involved. They said they could. He's a conspiracy theorist if you say anything about the election. But I have never seen spirit like there is right now. And even coming down.
And I've seen the media, and I've seen them like scream about the illegitimacy of Donald Trump because of the Russians and everything. Even if when it completely came out that it was entirely fabricated, and it's been just about as much time now. And we're still having nothing saying that the election was a fraud that was stolen. There's still like no report on it. There's no official FBI or whatever. No, not the CIA, but there's no report on it to say that it was false. So I don't know. I'm not saying that it was
on the road.
But it's kind of fishy.
Absolutely going crazy, and the reason is. Yeah, I think they like me, and I know they love my policies. I hope they like me too. You know, a lot of people say they don't like me, but they like my policies. I think they like me, but I have never seen spirit
like and don't like depends
right now. And the reason is because crooked Joe Biden is so bad. He's the worst president in the history of our country.
Maybe not, but
I don't think he's going to make it to the gate. But you know, you never know. But he's a corrupt person, so corrupt that I took the name off Hillary. You know, I don't do two people at one time. I took the crooked Hillary and I retired the name. That was a good day for her. I bet she was very happy. And I used it for Joe because it's crooked Joe. But Joe is really...
Sleepy you don't think he's going to make it to November of 2024?
Well, I think he's worse mentally than he is physically. And physically, he's not exactly a triathlete. Or
he's all right
any
physically,
kind of
mentally not.
You look at him; he can't walk to the helicopter. He walks.
He's old.
He can't lift his feet out of the grass.
He's younger than Trump.
Only 2 inches at the White House, right? That's not a lot. But you watch him, and it looks like he's walking on toothpicks. So, and then you see him on the beach where he can't lift a chair. You know, those chairs are meant to be light, right? They're like 2 ounces.
Yeah.
You lift them up.
He doesn't show any strength.
He can't walk to the chair.
Trump is old.
I don't know what they're doing
he
at
looks
the beach. You know, this beach
still much stronger.
Play a big role, but they love pictures of him on the beach. I think he looks terrible on the beach. He looks terrible on the beach.
Skinny legs.
Well, he can't walk through the sand. You know, sand is not that easy to walk through, but when he walks through it, he can't walk through the sand. And there's somebody in there that thinks he looks fabulous at the beach. I think he looks horrible at the beach.
Plus, you don't look that too hot, Trump. At least
what the president's supposed
you're old
to be
and
doing. He's
kind of in
supposed to be
shape.
working. He's supposed to be getting us out of that horrible, horrible war that we're very much involved in with Russia and Ukraine. You could do that. You could do that very easily. I believe you could do that I don't believe he could do it because he's just
no, he can't do anything.
But that's a war that should end immediately, not because of one side or the other, because hundreds of thousands of people.
It should be really like a political division that, we pro-Ukraine, anti-Russia. I think that if everybody was educated on what is happening actually in the war and how it started like in 2014, people would have a very different opinion on it. I'm not saying like that there's one side entirely right or anything, but it's... I don't know. It's again another case of political division, and it's strange now. They're kind of like saying that the left now is pro-war and the right is anti-war. It's really the way. No, sorry, the left is like pro-freedom, and the right is pro-Putin. That's the way. There's two ends in that, and of course, one is like for democracy of a country that's like, like a Nazi hellhole, but whatever.
People are being.
As long as the companies they make
Can
money
you imagine you're
selling weapons and killing people.
Rockets are going into that building and blowing it up and knocking it down, and who can? Why should anything? Why should anybody? Human beings, these are human, whether they're Russian or Ukrainian or whatever they are. It's got to be stopped, and it can be stopped very easily. It would have never started. If I were president, it would have never started.
Completely agree.
Back to Biden, I'm interested. So you think he's failing? He obviously is failing.
Yes.
Clear to everybody.
But he's feeling even the Democratic Party.
Kamala Harris the candidate?
Well, not really. I mean, I guess they'd have maybe a free-for-all. A lot of people say she has to remain for certain reasons.
Sorry, but if she wasn't a woman, she would have not stayed there.
As the candidate, she has to. I don't think that's true, actually. I don't think that other people would stand for it. She has some bad moments. Her moments are almost as bad as his. I think his are worse.
She said some
actually.
kind of crazy shit.
She seems pretty senile, too.
She speaks in rhyme. It's weird. It's weird.
She's strange.
But she has bad moments. And
In rhyme? What do you...
well, the way she talks, the bus will go here and then the bus will go there because that's what buses do. And it's weird. The whole thing is weird. This is not
she's
a
like speaking to
president
children.
of the United States future.
Yeah.
And I think they probably have some kind of a primary and other people will get involved.
Yeah, Kamala Harris, we're never sure if she's trained to speak to kids or if inside that's the way she thinks. It's kind of hard to pinpoint exactly.
Newsom, right?
She doesn't look
Could be.
extremely smart, like
I always got
normal.
along well with him, believe it or
even
not.
lesser.
But could be him, could be somebody else. He's got a big load on his shoulders because you look at California, what's happened. But I don't know if the American people really, the people that vote for him, I don't even know if they care. You look at so many of the things that are
You're so right.
going on, and people don't seem to be. In the old days, if you had a bad record, it meant a lot. Today, if you have a bad record, it doesn't really mean anything. He looks good. He's a nice-looking guy, speaks well. But
Newsom,
every time you watch him talking, it's like he's walking on eggs. You're waiting for him to collapse, and he almost always does. And I got to know the leaders of all of the countries, essentially, but the big ones. And the bigger, the tougher the leader. It's like sort of, I guess maybe that's the way it's supposed to be. But I got to know President of China and Putin and Kim Jong-un. North Korea did a great job with North Korea, kept us out of a nuclear war. We would have 40,000 dead soldiers.
Yes and no, but war, yes.
A nuke right on top of the military base. But we have 40,000 soldiers.
South Korea should be happy.
And I did great. I got along with him great. That's a positive.
He knows how to treat people, right?
He said nice things about Kim Jong-un. I also said horrible things at the beginning. Horrible enough that he wanted to talk. And we talked and we met in Singapore. We met actually twice. And we had unbelievable meetings. I know him very well. We were in great shape with him.
What do you think he and Xi and Putin think of Biden?
I think they can't believe it. I think they probably say this is some kind of a...
It's as bad as Justin Trudeau.
System. They had great respect for our country. They did. They had great respect for our country. When I was there.
At least politically.
Every one of them. Look, if you go to North Korea, you take a look at what happened. The Olympics was dead. South Korea spent billions on the Olympics. Nobody was going to go. They didn't want to get blown up. They called me and they said,
"Wow,
we are going to let the Olympics proceed." This is North Korea. I said, "You should go into the Olympics. Put your athletes in." It wasn't like they were big on athletes because
famine.
But they went in and they actually participated. And
nice.
Within about 2 days, the entire thing was sold out.
That's how you make peace.
And if it wasn't me, that would have never happened.
Indeed.
But I got along very well with him, and that's a positive thing. He does have massive nuclear power, by the way. And if Hillary would have gotten in, or if the Obama thought process continued, it would have been a nuclear war, absolutely, with North Korea. He was expecting to go into a war, and it would have been a nuclear war.
I don't think he has what it takes.
So do you think the rest of the world looks on
still.
at Biden and thinks someone else has got to be running the government?
Well, somebody else has to be.
Yes.
I don't think he's capable of doing anything. Look, when I debated him,
That's sad.
I said, how come, and this was in front of, probably not a friend of yours, Chris Wallace, he was the moderator.
Not a friend.
I said, why is it he wants to be Mike, but he doesn't have the talent? It's one of those
bitchy little man.
He wanted to be his father, but he didn't have the talent of his father was great. His father,
little fussy man.
His father interviewed me in 60 Minutes. It was actually a 10. Can you believe it?
I totally. His father had talent, at least.
I may have been the only guy that he gave a good 60 Minutes to. He was rough.
Really?
His father was tough. He was great, though. He was great at what he did. But Chris Wallace was so upset. He was guarding this guy who wouldn't do a show, by the way. He wouldn't do. I figured. I didn't mind Chris Wallace because Biden wouldn't do a show. And it was very obvious. He kept asking him, but he wouldn't do the show. So I figured he's got to like me. But
I don't know who they
from
are.
a different planet. But remember when I asked the question, why is it that the mayor of Moscow's wife is allowed to give you $3.5 million? Don't forget, that was brought up, now it's brought up all the time, but that was brought up by me long before anyone ever heard of it. I said, the mayor of Moscow's wife giving you $3.5 million. What did you do to deserve $3.5 million? To Biden. And Chris Wallace said, this has nothing to do with the debate. I mean, he fought.
He got in the way of the question.
No, well, it was crazy. And I said, well, wait a minute. He got $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife. Now, people forget that, but if you go back and take a look, you will see. And Chris Wallace didn't want me to ask that question. I said, I think it's a very appropriate question. It turned out to be much more appropriate than people thought.
I guess it is. For people that like
So do you have a preference in, assuming you're the Republican nominee and all goes as you plan it to go, do you have a preference in who you run against?
In many ways, I'd love to run against him because his record's so bad. You know, it's still horrible when you look at inflation and everything else. But others also have very bad records. I mean, California's a bad record, so, you know, should it be Gavin or should it be somebody else? When I look at San Francisco, what's happened to that incredible city? That was one of the greatest cities in the world just a short while ago, and now it's very sad when you look at it. Los Angeles, every city practically. All the
pretty much everywhere
cities. You know,
in America.
Republican-run cities are doing very nicely. They arrest people when you have crimes, and they don't go after political candidates because they think it's good. You know, I mean, it's like been amazing. My poll numbers are the highest I've ever had. But because people understand it.
Can I just ask you, that gets back to my original question. So if the protest didn't work, you got elected anyway. Impeachment didn't work twice, obviously.
Thrice, probably.
Indictment is not working.
No.
Your poll numbers go up. When they raided Mar-a-Lago in August of last year, your numbers went up.
Yep.
They can indict you 20 times and you're not going to lose the Republican primary because of that.
Well,
So,
unless there would be something really.
I mean, the 4 indictments, and maybe there'll be more. I don't know. These people are crazy.
But they're counterproductive. So if you chart it out, it's an escalation, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So what's next after, try to put you in prison for the rest of your life? That's not working. So don't they have to kill you now?
I think the people of our country don't get enough credit for how smart they are. And I'm not.
I don't know. It's not that people are not smart. It's that they're completely brainwashed. There's a derangement syndrome. I mean, it's okay to not really like him that much, but like to want to hate him, kill him for people. They don't really have like good reasons that much. It's like even if you ask them, oh, why do you hate Donald Trump? What did he do? Is there any policy he didn't like? They're going to say, oh, well, you haven't heard? Or like, well, everybody, it's obvious. And it's like, okay, well, tell me one thing you don't like about him that he did a policy. Oh, whatever. It's like, they don't even know why they hate him. It's just the television told them to hate him, and that's all. Sometimes I feel almost the contrary. It's like when the television tells me I should hate somebody, it's like, oh, really? Why? Like the enemy of my enemy is my friend eventually. Not that I like those people, but I mean, I'd rather be on the side of the enemy at that point. I mean, it's
not sure I would have said this 10 years
crazy,
ago.
yeah.
But they get it. You know, they really get it. When somebody gets indicted, your poll numbers go down. When somebody gets indicted, you announce, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be leaving to spend time with my family and to fight for the rest of my life.
That's what usually happens.
Stuff. But you're out of politics. I got indicted 4 times.
Yeah.
All trivia, nonsense.
No, it's
bullshit.
Yeah.
It's all bullshit.
Bullshit.
It's horrible. When
things that other people did.
You look at what they're doing. The boxes hoax. I'm covered by the Presidential Records Act. I'm allowed to do exactly that. He's not covered, and he's got 25 times the number of boxes. And he's got them stored in Chinatown. He's got them stored in a flimsy garage underneath his Corvette. At Penn. And by the way, at Penn, he gets millions of dollars. China pays this guy millions of dollars. See, I think he's the most corrupt president we've ever had. Yes. And he also has the distinction of being the most incompetent. And I believe both. I mean, he's both incompetent.
With 2 minuses.
So
I actually believe he's compromised because China knows so much about him. They know where the money comes from. They know where it is, who paid it, and they probably paid it. Well, they do pay Penn, and he gets $1 million. I think he takes $999,000 because, keeps it a little bit under $1 million, like by $1. But he, in many ways, is a Manchurian candidate. We have a Manchurian candidate
in government.
and he's afraid to tell Russia to get out of Cuba. He's afraid to tell China to get out of Cuba. He's afraid. China now is building, think of this, China is building military installations in Cuba.
Wow.
The Cuban population of Miami is not too happy because they're never going to be able to go back. And you don't even hear about it. And the worst culprit is the press, the media.
Wow, I didn't know about that. I don't know if it's true.
You know, when I first heard that,
I guess.
that China is building installations in Cuba. And installations
That's crazy. Why the United States is not
okay? You know,
anything?
this is just some communication. They did that on the islands with Japan. They took the island. They started this massive construction, and they told everybody, including
this
the
belongs to China.
The Japanese have to be very careful. They told everybody that this is a housing development. They got to build a housing development.
Why?
And I said, how come the runway is 20,000 feet long? You know, private jets need 4,000
much less,
feet.
yeah.
They don't need 20,000 feet.
Yeah, it's like
the
Army.
big ones need 20,000
Yeah.
feet. They don't even need
Good,
20.
good call.
And I looked at the runway. I said, that's the largest runway ever built, both in width and length,
For
for
residential.
housing development. There's nobody that has a plane that big that you would have.
I think he knows about it.
So that's,
Why
that's
is China
fantastic.
For cargo.
allowed
Oh,
to
for cargo.
conduct imperialism in our hemisphere?
Well, yeah, and it's far beyond Cuba. It's all over South America.
Yeah, in the Caribbean.
Yes.
So we built a thing called the
That
Panama
I've heard.
Canal. We lost 35,000 people to the mosquito, you know, malaria.
Yeah.
We lost
Yeah.
35,000 people building. We
Really?
lost 35,000
Wow.
people because of the mosquito. Vicious. They had to build under nets. It was
Wow.
one of the true great wonders of the world. As he said, one of the 9 wonders of the world. No,
Yeah,
it was one
the
of the
Panama
7.
Canal.
It was happened a little while ago. You
Yeah.
know? It says 9
It's
wonders
flat.
of the world. You could make
It's
9
flat
wonders.
all the way.
He would have been better off if he stuck with the 9 and just said, yeah, I think it's 9. But this is one of the true 7
is.
wonders of the world.
Huh?
And you take
It
a look
helped
at
so
the Panama
tremendously.
Canal. It was such an
Tremendously.
incredible engineering marvel.
It's flat.
We sold it under Jimmy Carter. We sold it to Panama
Yep.
for $1.
Wow.
The following day, they quadrupled the amount of money that ships had to pay to get across. They didn't lose one ship, and now they've made it much bigger, and now they've widened it. They've doubled it, right? They've more than doubled it. And it's one of the most profitable things. Any time it's
Yeah, it's
just
amazing.
incredible, right? We gave it away for $1. China now controls it. They actually control the Panama Canal. They run it. They control it.
It's not Panama?
And we shouldn't let that happen.
No,
we can't
obviously
let
not.
China
It's
be
too
in
close.
Cuba, and they'll get out. If I'm president, they'll get out. I had a very good relationship with President Xi, but he respected this country. He respected me, and he'll get out.
I don't know.
And we can't let them run the Panama Canal.
I
We
agree.
built the Panama Canal. Should have never been given to Panama. We should have had it, but we gave it for
Well-
$1. Think of it. They quadrupled in.
Well, Panama needs help. I think it still should stay to Panama because it's in their territory. It was a present. I don't think the United States should control Panama.
One day they lifted the fees.
It should
which
be
are,
nice,
you know,
however. It should be very
pretty
nice.
big for these massive ships to go through, right? Rather than going around the Cape and all
That's
the
crazy.
tremendous
Oh, yeah, it was
storms,
dangerous.
such beauty, such when you it's beautiful stuff.
It
But
is.
you didn't want to get caught in those storms. Those were
Exactly.
some
It's a
wet
nice place to
ships.
go, but it's not
And we
safe.
go through the Panama Canal. We built it, and we gave it away for $1. Think of that. How stupid are we? We've
No,
done the
it's-
stupidest things in this country.
It's one of the nicest
And
things
now
I've ever
we have a
heard.
president that can't put 2 sentences together, can't speak, can't walk, can't talk. I don't think he gets to the starting gate, but these people do miracles. I mean, he ran out of his basement, and you got away with that one because of COVID, so he sort of got away with it. They cheated on the election. But you have people that are very smart, but they're fascists and they're radical left lunatics, and they're destroying our country with the all-electric cars and the windmills all over the place, which, by the way, don't work, and they're all, most of them made in China. For the most part, they're made in China.
do.
Germany,
Indeed,
a little
yeah,
bit, but China. But you look at what's happening to our country, even no voter ID. I mean, why don't they want voter ID?
Yeah, well-
There's only one reason they don't want voter ID, because they want to cheat. I mean, this,
Yeah, it's because they want to cheat. And they're trying to act as if, well, what about poor black people? It's like, they are poor. They're not stupid. It's like they're so like treating people, especially like black and poor people, the ones that claim they want to protect them, they don't want to give them opportunities. They just want to be their daddy They want to keep him down and act as if they can't do anything by themselves. Oh, voter ID is racist. No, like not having voter ID is racist towards Americans, no matter what the race.
Who doesn't want, the Democrat convention, the last one, they had voter ID that was this big. It looked like a prison card, this big on their chest. You walked in, they had your picture, your this, your fingerprint. They had everything. The most incredible voter ID I've ever seen. That was to get into the Democrat National Convention. But to get in to vote, if you buy groceries, if you buy practically anything now, you have ID on a card, credit cards or otherwise.
But don't you think it's racist to have to show your ID?
Well, they probably say that. They use anything not to show ID because voter ID is pretty simple. And we could go back, and we should go back to all paper ballots, voter ID, same-day voting. France did it. France had mail-in ballots. And
actually, I think it should be like a two-way kind of voting. I think that there should be online and paper voting. You should like vote both and be able to see your own vote, especially the online vote, and maybe even see like your own signature or something, and to attest. We have like types of technologies today, and I think people can each other. Maybe somebody could find a loophole to what I'm saying, but I think that paper ballots are still well. You can still fraud it. Of course, you can't fraud it as much as electronic voting.
It was terrible. Anytime you have mail-in ballots, you're going to have massive cheating.
Yes.
On your elections, anytime, but not just the presidential election.
The door's wide open.
Isn't that the whole point of them?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
No.
That's the whole point.
No,
That's the whole point. They want to cheat. Yeah. They have to cheat because their policies are so bad that if they didn't cheat, they couldn't get elected. Who wants open borders?
That's like Justin Trudeau
here.
Who
wants high taxes? Who wants high interest rates? Who wants to not be able to use a gas stove or have to?
Ecological fascists? I don't know. Yeah, it's... I don't know. Well, I think I love gas stoves. I would like to have one because they just like work better. I think they probably end up using less energy depending on how much the gas costs, where you get it, if it's polluted and everything, depending on where your electricity comes from. But I think there's probably like less calorie usage for heating a gas stove than the electrical one. And there's just so much better. To cook. If ever you've had one before, you don't want to go without. I am now without, and it's true. There's a couple of stuff like my stir fries. They aren't like as good. My steaks are hard. It's hard to recuperate from like when your saucepan is too cold. It's hard to recuperate and have your steak stay perfect. But when you have a gas stove, if ever you like miscalculated anything, well, you can just rearrange it right away. It's really a big difference. And they're a bunch of ecological fascists.
Drive an electric car, which, you have a 4-hour drive, but the car only goes an hour and a half. You just have to charge it.
Yeah.
The happiest moment for somebody in an electric car is the first 10 minutes. In other words, you get it charged, and now for 10 minutes... The unhappiest part is the next hour because you're petrified that you're not going to be found another charger. People, I'm saying if people, I'm not knocking electric cars, they're fine.
They're fine, no.
But if people want to buy a gasoline car or a hybrids are pretty good, actually. Yeah. But they should be allowed to buy. They don't want to do any of this.
Yeah, so it doesn't fit what they want. Why should they force to buy it?
Because their grid is a disaster. The grid all over the country is sort of a disaster, but the grid in California. And yet,
the grid here in Quebec is getting worse and worse. They're saying to everybody, "Oh, you need to go to electric cars, but you can't like wash your dishes at that time. You can't wash your clothes at that time." And they really want to force it on people. Now every devices are ISO 9002 compliant, so it resends information back to all those smart meters, and they pretty much forced everybody to have a smart meter. I used to actually pay extra monthly to not have one of those smart meters. I don't trust them, especially with what happened in Hawaii with all these direct energy weapons. And when I moved, well, it was already there, and you're not allowed to ask them, "Oh, you know what? I want for you to come back and install a non-smart meter." You're not allowed to. Here, it's everything is like socialized as well. No, everything that is being lost is socialized as far as electricity goes, and all the profits are capitalized by a small group of very corrupted people. So there's no evading these smart meters. So everything you use that is 902 compliant, 9002, something like that. There's a saying, it's ISO 9002. I've learned all these type of information, mostly in French around here. So it sends the information back, and eventually they'll know what you do. Well, they already know, but they could tell you like, oh, this device is not like essential, so you can't use it right now. And point is that the grid is like not perfect. They're not like thinking of adding more, but they're asking people to move to electric cars. They don't have it. And if your electricity comes from coal or gas, or I mean, there's just like nuclear that's pretty clean. Of course, hydroelectricity, that's one of the good ones for like greener energy. It's not perfect, but I still think that hydro power is great, and I'm sure there would be a lot of opportunities to make power with the ocean, but I don't know if there would be much money in that other than free power.
They want to have, in a very short period of time, millions and millions of cars going off that grid, essentially. It doesn't work.
So plug your car into a grid that's failing.
You should be able to buy an electric car. You know, electric cars could be fun if you drive short distances and you want to have, you know, whatever, and you have plug-ins.
They're cool. I like them, but it's not for everybody.
Fine. But you got to have gasoline cars. You got to have everything. Let people buy everything. Now there's the new thing is your heating systems in the house. They don't want you to have a modern day heating system. They want you to use a heating system that will cost you at least $10,000 to buy and won't work very well. You know, none of the stuff works as well. One of the things I did with EPA is you have states, many states, most of the states have so much water. You know, it comes out of heaven, right? The water pours down and you have it. It's there. It's got to,
as long as it's
go
clean,
wherever it goes, into the oceans, whatever. It's not like a big problem. Now, in some states, they have a problem. You know,
indeed,
desert areas and all, and for that it's okay. But they have sinks where no water comes out. You turn it on, no water comes out.
Okay.
No water comes out of the shower. No water is allowed to go into the washing machine for your dishes or for your clothing or what.
Okay.
And I avoided all of that.
Wait, they have sinks where no water comes out?
Sure, you have restrictors. When I say no water, very little water.
Okay.
You want to wash your hands, right?
Yeah.
And you've seen this, and you turn on the sink and it's very little.
Yeah.
Or you want to wash your beautiful hair, right? And
beautiful hair.
You're standing under a shower. Then the suds never go. If the water comes out very slowly. I'm sure you've seen this. It usually takes place in new hotels and new homes.
Yeah, you take a drill and take the limiter out.
Well, you can, but now they make it so you can't do that so easily. They have a restrictor. It's called a restrictor, and it restricts the water from coming out. So I ended all of that.
You have so much water. It's not that bad, as long as you don't pollute it.
They let the water come out. You know what people do? They wash their hands like 5 times longer.
Yes.
Or in the washing machine, they press for their, let's say, the dishwasher.
Yep. You do it twice.
Then they'll press it about 7 or 8 times.
Yes.
They'll end up using more water, and it still won't be very good. I met with the head of Whirlpool. They were practically going out of business during my administration, and they said to me from Ohio, incredible, great state.
Stop subsidizing rich people that can't make it.
They were really doing badly because people were dumping washing machines all over, mostly from South Korea, but also from China.
Okay.
And he was explaining it's just a terrible situation. I said, let me ask you, how's the quality? He says, we're better, but they are good enough quality. But, you know, of course he's going to say that, but, you know, they are better. He said, but they don't allow us. They're dumping these machines. They're cutting us in half. They're killing us. And on top of it, the government won't let us use water in our machines. I mean, he shows me like a quarter of a bottle of water. That's supposed to be washing clothing. And I freed it all up, and I put tariffs on these countries that were selling and the machines coming into the country.
That's the way you do it.
And that company went from a...
you put your money on the MTV.
All the washing machine companies, they make washing machines, they make dryers, they make all of the different machines that do this kind of work, including dishwashers. And they went from a disaster area to being just thriving.
But can I ask
They love me in that part of Ohio.
Well, I bet they do. But why should EPA, no one at EPA was elected by anybody. Why do they have the power
now you're
to decide
bringing
how much water your washing machine uses? Shouldn't Congress in a democracy get to vote on that?
No.
Yeah,
no.
you could say that. They do things that are not very...
So how do you...
I think that the option should be there. Like if you want to wash with less water, if you feel that's enough, I think it's a good idea to make devices that are more effective using less resources, less energy and everything. I think it's a great idea, but and just leave people the choice. I mean, if you like, it's like a low water option, that's great. I mean, if you live in the desert, or if there's like a slight drought or a big drought, and the city tells you like, oh, you need to use less water. You know what? We're just going to wash it this way temporarily. I mean, that's a great idea. Just don't force it on people.
That's my question. How do you
stop forcing?
You get elected again, go back to Washington. How do you keep the agencies under control? How do you keep FBI and CIA specifically under control?
The way you do it, like I fired Comey, that was a big deal. You know, a lot of people said,
just
I fired him
remove
very
them.
early. Somebody said, oh, I wish you would have fired him. There was a real question about firing him. Anyway, you understand, because, you know, when they have a 10-year term, there is a question. I fired Comey. That was a great thing. If I didn't fire Comey, maybe I wouldn't be talking to you, or I'd be talking to you about real estate or something else other than politics, right? That was a coup, in my opinion. That was a very sick deal. That was the insurance policy. You remember the insurance policy? Oh, she's going to win, darling. She's going to win. But just in case she doesn't, we have an insurance policy. An insurance policy was what they were doing.
What?
And we caught them with that. That was a very important tweet, or whatever it was, text. It was a big deal. That was a big deal. The insurance policy. She's going to win 100 million to 1. That's not good odds. At least they gave me 1, right? 100 million to 1. But just in case
You mean he has a chance?
she doesn't win, we have an insurance policy. And everybody said, that's strange. That's strange. But we caught all of that because I fired Comey. Because when I fired Comey, it was like throwing a rock into a hornet's nest, into a nest of bees, and the place went crazy.
So when you were president, are you confident that you knew everything, say, CIA was doing around the world?
No, I'm not. It's a very interesting group of people. I had very good relationships, I thought, but I was a little surprised
Two-sided assholes.
when I got out that, you know, things go on. Look, it's...
What were you surprised by?
I was surprised I think, at some of the people. I was surprised that there was... I had a group of people. Look, we killed many, using the CIA, I have to say this, very bad actors. We were very good at it.
Kind of.
You look at Soleimani, you look at al-Baghdadi, bigger than Osama bin Laden. I mean, Osama bin Laden, but al-Baghdadi did ISIS, and he was rebuilding ISIS very strongly.
And that was the CIA that did that?
That was really us that did that.
Yeah.
That was really us that did that. And Soleimani was us that did that, not so much CIA. But we did some very good work with the CIA. What I started, you know, when I looked at the 51 intelligence agents saying that was the laptop from hell was Russia disinformation. When I took a look
that was such a big lie.
I said, that's a horrible thing. They knew it wasn't. They knew it was not. And by the way, you're talking about cheating on the election? McLaughlin and Fabrizio, great pollsters, they said a thing like that plus other things meant anywhere from 10 to 17% of the vote would change.
Whatever happened to Mike Pence? You've always been nice to Pence. I've never heard you criticize Pence. You've defended him in public many, many times. He's out
I don't know why.
you.
I think he hated you from the start, Trump.
So Mike wants to run for president. You got to understand, in my opinion, Mike Pence had the absolute right to send the votes back to the legislatures.
Legally, yes.
The Democrats and everybody said, you don't have the right. In other words, what I said, is he a human conveyor belt? You mean if he finds fraud in Pennsylvania, in Georgia, in any of these states?
Pennsylvania was obvious. Yeah.
He has to send them to Mitch McConnell, right? That's right, sir. Well, if he finds fraud, he has to? Yes, sir. I said, so he's a conveyor belt.
Yes.
Put him in. I said, I don't agree with that. And we had some lawyers, not all, we had some lawyers that said, no, you do have the right to send them back to the legislatures to be rechecked. Because if you look at what went on in Wisconsin, who, by the way, now agree with me.
Pence was a backstabber also.
Virtually, other than the fact they're not allowed to do anything statutorily. But Wisconsin has been, I mean, what they found is incredible. I mean, we won Wisconsin.
Okay.
But Mike Pence had the right, in my opinion, to send him back.
Do you ever talk to him now?
No, I haven't spoken to him in a long time. I was very disappointed in him.
Of course.
I didn't want to do what Thomas Jefferson did. Thomas Jefferson, it was Georgia.
Tell us.
And it was, hear ye, hear ye, the great state of Georgia is not capable or allowed to tabulate their votes. And Thomas Jefferson, who was the vice president, said, is Georgia sure that they cannot tabulate their votes. Georgia is sure. He didn't send them back and have them redo it. He said, we will keep the votes of the great state of Georgia for Thomas Jefferson and his president. I didn't ask him for that. Could have done that too, but I didn't. I thought that would be turmoil. I asked him to send him back to his legislature, to the legislatures, in Wisconsin, let's say.
But why didn't he? I mean, you'd worked together for 4 years.
No, because it would be against you.
You say you're aligned
personally all this time.
I think he got very bad advice. I really do. Now, let me tell you what happened.
I guess it could be something.
I sat there with a few people. I think his lawyer was in the room too. His lawyer was very much against it. There were other lawyers that felt you could do it. It was one of those things. I think you could have done it. I think you can always do something if you see fraud or if you see problems.
Yes, you should always.
Very interesting. So
even if you're not your side,
the rhinos got together with the Democrats.
Yep.
And they redid the election, so you couldn't do it anymore. So when I called the people, I said, so in other words, you're saying I was right. You could do it. Yes, you could do it. In other words, they took the
you can't force them to do it.
And they redid it so the vice president no longer has the power to do what I said he could do.
What? So I'll bring it. Oh, just a sec.
You could do it. Yes, you could do it. In other words, they took the Voting Act.
Okay, the Voting Act.
They redid it so the vice president no longer has the power to do what I said he could do.
They changed the law like right after?
So when that happened, I said, wow. And you'd look some of these Democrats in the eye and they'd say, he has absolutely no right to do it. And immediately after the election, they met rhinos, could name them all, and Democrats.
Okay.
And they approved legislation that takes away the right of the vice president.
That's how you do democracy.
So I said,
2023.
So you're saying I was right?
Yep, pretty
the
much.
Vice president did have the right to do it, and they said, yes, he did.
So if you're saying they stole it from you last time, why wouldn't they do the same this time?
Oh, well, they're
yeah.
They're going to be trying, yeah. But
they'll try.
Not only me.
They'll do it in Canada again. Justin Trudeau's going to stay as long as
DeSantis is out. I think
he's not out other ways.
He was at a level. People have figured him out. He's gone. But if somebody else got in, other than me, they'll go at him just as viciously.
Oh, Vivek's going to be attacked even if he was there.
These people are sick. They will go after them. And a lot of people say they won't be able to hold up. I do get credit for
Well, it's true. There's a lot of people like leftists kind of. They hate everything from the right, like every single thing, even things that they probably would agree to. And they will force themselves to be just entirely the other way around. They have really serious problems.
For holding up quite well, I must tell you. I think it's.
How do you do that? How do you get indicted? Every week and stay cheerful.
It's.
Well, I guess
I think it's
like in famous
because I'm so high in the polls because it means the people get it. The people see it's a fraud. The people see it.
True.
Like this horrible district attorney.
They see
from
it.
just a little while ago, from essentially Atlanta, that's Fulton County. She said, basically, I don't have any right to challenge an election. Well, what about Stacey Abrams? What about Hillary Clinton? What about all of these Democrats that are still challenging my election? The same people that are saying, he's challenging an election, challenged my election.
Yeah.
And they did it with slates. They did it with all sorts of things. They were very
bad. They did it
bad.
with a lot of people.
Very bad about it. But basically, they're suing me, and they're saying, you don't have any right to challenge it. If you challenge an election, we're going to indict you and put you
That's
in
what they
jail.
do all the time when they
what
lose.
They're doing is they've weaponized, and don't kid yourself, the DOJ and Biden and the whole group, they're watching all of this stuff. They love the local stuff. The DA in Manhattan. Not only that, they put one of the DOJ top people into the Manhattan DA's office to run things. They don't even have a case against me. It's not even a case. Everyone says, even the Democrats say, you can't bring these cases. You have no case. The Attorney General or the
TDS.
District Attorney, Fannie Willis, in Atlanta, she's getting killed. Basically, she's saying Trump doesn't have the right to criticize an election. But you've been
Everybody
around
should
long
have the
enough
right.
now. You've seen many elections criticized. I mean, Hillary Clinton goes crazy. Every time she talks, she says, he's not the president. Jimmy Carter said, he's not the president.
Yeah, Jimmy Carter.
Well, I am the president. Hillary
that's
Clinton
what
called
happened.
me, by the way, at 3:02 in the morning to congratulate me the night of the election.
Did her voice crack?
Well, her voice was, it's very different, I will say. I won't get into that. But
What do you mean?
her voice was very different. Don't forget, they were all celebrating at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And I came home and I said, I think we won. I felt we won because the rallies are so big.
Oh, definitely.
Wisconsin.
But it should have been Bernie Sanders against him.
Georgia. We'll go to different states. And Michigan. We'd have
Bernie Sanders would have been attacked probably by the media too for other reasons.
Butler. And I said, how are we losing this? How do you have a rally where you have from 50 to 100,000 people,
Crazy.
many of them? I did 7 a day.
because they're a cult.
That's a lot. That's a lot. These are big rallies too. And I didn't hold back. I didn't say, let's make them let's do abbreviations, right?
If there's two cults, like there's a cult of the idea from the left and the narrative, and from the right, it's a cult of Donald Trump. It's like two cults.
They challenged the stuff.
Yeah.
Hillary called me up and conceded. Now, the word is that Obama said you have to do that. But she called up and totally conceded. But now, every time you see her on television, she's saying like
That she didn't lose.
she's challenging.
Yeah, she is.
election.
Like
you
even,
think-
So that
even
would
now.
mean that she should be indicted. But that
Yeah.
would mean also that Stacey
Everybody
Abrams
else.
in Georgia
Yeah.
should be indicted because she still
many
thinks she
people.
won the election for governor. She still thinks that. She's never recanted. And I
Do you think
she
Stacey
should.
Abrams will be indicted for that?
No, of course not. She won't be. The Democrats don't get indicted for things like that. They don't.
But
get
she should
impeached.
if she thinks she
No,
won.
it's a different thing.
Is-
With that being said,
Yes.
I had
Well, 'cause
great
it depends on
support
lawyers
when
and
they did
everything.
impeachment hoax number 1 and impeachment hoax number 2. Jim Jordan, the House was fantastic, and actually the Senate was very good for me. Other than Mitch McConnell, I think if he had, it's too bad I endorsed him. He was begging, he was going to lose that race, and I endorsed him, and he ended up winning
Wow.
the race because of my endorsement. He was down, he was going to lose.
Oh,
to
really? He's
Amy
been
McGrath,
such a bitch
$90
for him.
million in cash, all set to go. She was
So
leading
bad.
by 3. He was going down. I did him a favor, and then 3-4 months later, he really wanted to impeach me.
Yeah.
He's a bad guy. But,
He is.
But if you look at
He's got bad
what's
values.
going on politically, so interesting. The level of loyalty is different in politics than it is in normal life, I will say. With that being said, I've had great loyalty also. But the House was fantastic.
Should be loyal
The
to
Senate was
ideas
very
and
good.
not
They
people.
overrode Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell,
The truth.
in my opinion, was trying to get senators to impeach me,
Two.
especially for the second one.
Okay.
And on the first one, he acted very, very slow. He should have gone much faster. But Mitch McConnell wanted to, and the senators went up to him, guys that are subservient to him because he gives money. He gives them money. He gives them a lot of money. He raises some money and he gives it to them, and therefore they do what he said. That's the only
Obviously.
form of leadership he's got.
So last question. If you're elected president again,
It's not charisma.
what's your number one priority? You want
Stop the war in Ukraine.
I will build a wall. This time, your bottom line top promise to the
So
country.
you can do numerous things at the same time.
Of course.
But
Numerous
let's say
things.
number one is a border.
Border.
And
Stop it. Yeah.
taking hundreds
Close it
of
down.
thousands of criminals that have been allowed
crazy.
into our country.
It's great. Creates so
Getting
many
them out
problems.
and bringing them back to
They even come here to Canada.
Guatemala. By the way, not only the 4 countries that we think of as neighbors, all over the world. Last month, we had
It's true.
149
They don't come just from
countries
South America.
represented. Think of it. We had 149 countries represented, Tucker, from places that many people never even heard of, coming into our country. And they're coming in from mental
border is completely
institutions,
open.
and they're coming in from prisons. They're emptying
Yeah.
out their prisons all over South America.
Amazing.
They're emptying out their mental institutions. Terrorists are pouring into our country. We have no idea. I had the
I don't know if
strongest border
that's
in the
that
history of
heavy.
our
More
country.
people want a
I built
better future, but yeah.
almost 500 miles of wall. They like to say, "Oh, was it less?" No, I built 500 miles. In fact, if you check
a lot.
with the
It is a lot.
authorities on the border, we built almost 500 miles of wall, and I had another 200
Was
that
ready.
I was going to build. It's like water. It's
Already bought.
and we're going to build another 200. We built it. It was all set to go. All they had to do was install it. It would have taken 3 weeks.
Yes. Uh-huh.
That's when I found out. I said, I think these people actually want open borders.
Yeah.
The first thing I would do would be
Actually, like they're like someplace near the wall where they wanted to build it. All the equipment is there, and they decided to not use it because Trump is the one that paid for it. Well, the Americans paid for it, but while Trump was there, they said, "Well, we're not going to use those parts." That's how the Trump derangement syndrome is so bad.
I would seal up the border good and tight, except for people that want to come in legally.
Do you think we're moving towards civil war?
Not now,
There's
but
tremendous passion and there's tremendous love. You know, January 6th was a very interesting day because they don't report it properly.
indeed.
I
That's
believe
for
it was
sure.
the largest crowd I've ever spoken before. And you know some of the crowds I've spoken before.
They weren't violent.
And like July 4th.
They didn't have guns to overthrow the
Mall.
government either.
I think they had 1 million people there. But I think that the biggest crowd I've ever spoken before was on January 6th. And people that were in that crowd, a very, very small group of people, and we said patriotically and peacefully and patriotically, right? Nobody ever says that. Go peacefully and patriotically. But people that were in that crowd that day, very small group of people went down there, and then there are a lot of scenarios that we can talk about. But
Well, Tucker aired
people
a
in
lot of
that
it.
crowd said it was the most beautiful day they've ever experienced. There was
Until-
love in that crowd. There was love and
Probably.
unity.
Yes,
I have never seen
I understand that.
such spirit and such passion and such love. And I've also never seen simultaneously and from the same people such hatred of what they've done to our country.
So do you think it's possible that there's open conflict? We seem to be moving
I
towards
don't
something.
know. I don't know because I don't know what it, you know, I can say this.
I don't know.
There's a level of passion that I've never seen. There's a level of hatred that I've never seen. And that's probably
true.
a bad combination.
It is.
Donald Trump, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Very much.
Thank you.
That is a bad combination, by the
Bad
way.
combination.
It is.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was a pretty good interview. I mean, like him or hate him, he's got charisma, and he's pretty smart. It's like people that think that he's not smart, they never heard him talk that much. So, all right. So I hope you enjoyed the video today. It was maybe a bit long because I think the original was like 46 minutes, and so you had to hear me a couple of times, maybe stopping the video. So I hope you enjoy, and remember that we are versus the rest. I hope you have a great day. Bye bye.